So today is September, Friday the 13th, and I'm about to go watch BeetleJuice, the sequel, but I stopped at the liquor store because I had to get me like a can of wine. One of these cans is supposed to equal 2 glasses of wine. This one is like the Brut Bubbles, and this one is Rosé. Had this straw in my glove box. We gonna put that in this purse here. Got my sweater. Now the movie starts at 7. It's literally like 6:54. I bought my ticket online last night, so I'm about to walk in here and I'm about to walk straight to my seat. I chose my seat online last night. It's a dine-in movie theater, so they have food and everything. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I think about the sequel later on. All right, so stay tuned for that. So I'm about to go see the movie BeetleJuice, and this is basically my fit. So this is just an Ann Taylor top that I thrifted, a corset. I don't remember where I got this from. These are Zara like cargo pants, Doc Martin loafers. Got me these little shades. I think I was carrying this like MCM purse earlier today. I was wearing like a blue outfit, but I don't feel like switching purses, so we're just gonna go ahead and throw that up in here. And also I want to get a couple of cans of wine before I go into the movie theater, so I'm gonna just pop that in here. So I'm watching BeetleJuice, I'm gonna just be sipping my little cans of wine, but don't tell anybody, okay? So this is the outfit, and that is it. Hey everybody, I am Kenya and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want to talk about BeetleJuice Part 2. So I literally just came from the movie, so this review is fresh on the dome. What I thought, my first impressions, okay? So if you don't know, BeetleJuice was like one of my favorite childhood movies. I would watch it like every single day. I still watch it quite a bit today, and so I had to watch the sequel. So spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the video, you might want to click off and come back when you've seen the movie. So first of all, the movie opens up with Winona Ryder. She looks really good, and she still has the hairstyle from the 1980s, okay? And now she's like has a show based on, you know, her experience with paranormal activities and ghosts, you know. She has a daughter called Astrid. Astrid is a popular Scandinavian name, and it also means like divine strength or whatever. And you know, the theme of the movie was like very gothic, dark, and I feel like the 1980s film, I believe it came out in 1988, I feel like with that, you know, type of filming style, it added to like the gothic, the mysteriousness, and just the overall just darkness of the movie. Now it's 2024, the camera quality is better and things, but I don't know, it's just something about that 1980s movie that just, the filming that just, I don't know, it just hit back then. So I do want to say that Charles Dietz wasn't in this movie. They did reference him a lot, but he was technically not in the movie. So I feel like the movie started off pretty slow, and about 30 minutes into the movie is when it started to pick up for me, is when I started to pay attention. And I do feel like if you are someone who is an occultist or you study the occult, this movie would be great for you. There was just so many things going on in the movie that just caught my attention, and I was just like, I was just like analyzing as I'm watching the movie, like trying to enjoy the movie or whatever. But I want to say that there were some common themes in this movie, and one of the common themes were destiny swapping. There was almost a destiny swap in the movie. There was the mother-daughter relationship between Winona Ryder, well, Lydia Dietz, and her daughter Astrid. They were kind of like just always bumping heads. The daughter was off at boarding school while Lydia Dietz was, you know, filming her show. She was busy being this big star of this show talking about, you know, just paranormal activity and ghosts. And the movie starts out with basically her losing her father, Charles Dietz, who died in a plane crash. You know, her father was like an adventurer. He was an explorer. He was a bird watcher. He was on his way to an adventure. And I also find it funny, like how they say that women basically date men that are like their fathers, because Lydia married a man named Richard who was also a free spirit, and he was out in Brazil exploring, and he also died like on the water. Toward the end of the movie, Lydia Dietz and her daughter Astrid were able to repair their relationship, and Astrid started to see things from her mother's point of view, something she had never saw before. and that connected them. Also, marriage. Do men marry for convenience or for love? And in the movie, you see toward the end of the movie how it came out that Lydia Dietz's boyfriend Rory, how in the end he was like basically like, oh, I'm just marrying because, you know, she is like basically famous and I can get further in life if I'm connected to her. Also segues and explores how people are social climbers, how they are connected to people for their own benefit, because they want to climb up, they want to look a certain way, they want to be a certain way, they want to live a certain life, you know. Also, how being a loner, Astrid was basically a loner. Her dad was gone, her mother was, they were pretty much, I would say, estranged, sort of. Like, she was in boarding school, her mother was living her life. And when you are a loner, that opens you up to entities, or you are vulnerable to entities and just people who are not good for you. And as we can see in the movie, Astrid met this guy and he was basically trying to destiny swap with her. He was not good, you know. So when you are like vulnerable and you have this innocence about you, like Astrid did, she was able to see a ghost, she was able to experience paranormal activity, you know. She wasn't like get tainted yet. So I feel like her character was sort of like innocent in a way, pure. I also want to say that in this movie, Delia Dietz, she was not as extra as I was expecting her to be. I feel like the first one, she just had like this extraness about her, and this movie, she was like very calm. I wanted her to be extra. But they did also talk about her art. She had an art gallery or studio in Manhattan, so they did slightly touch on that part of Delia Dietz's life. Also, there was a character in an afterlife called Wolf Jackson, and basically he was an actor when he was alive. And so in the afterlife, everything he did was like he was acting. Like one part he was acting like a cop and like or whatever. So I felt like in a way it was like he was a character. You are the main character of your life. You are the main character of your life. You direct your life. You're the director of your life. And as we saw in the character Wolf Jackson, he was just constantly like, every scene he was just like saying, yeah, I was an actor. Yeah, like he wanted you to know, like that was a part of his whole character, was that he was an actor while he was living. And so in his afterlife he was still in these characters for some reason. So you take control of your life, you are the main character of your life. Also, we know that Tim Burton does not write black characters into his scripts for whatever reason. He just feels like, you know, black characters don't exist in his imagination or in his world, so he does not see the need to write them into his script. But this movie had black characters, okay? And there was a scene where it was like the Soul Train, where it was like they were in the subway, and obviously the subways are like always in the inner city, so obviously I feel like in his brain that's where he sees black people, mostly in the inner city. And the Soul Train was taking like these new souls away wherever they go. That's where the Soul Train was taking them. And so it was called the Soul Train, and it was like all these black characters, and they were just like dancing like really. And you know, black people, we do have soul, so maybe he sees black people as someone who has soul. But these black characters did not have any lines beside the fact that they were just like these background characters, just taking these souls away. And so I feel like in a way that there are certain people who just see black people as background characters, NPCs as you will. We serve no real purpose in life but to help people get to the next level in their life. Like there was this millionaire that said that black women guard your money. Like they are essential in helping you get to a point in your life where you are wealthy, or keeping your wealth, or maintaining your wealth, or getting more wealth. And in this movie you see these black characters, they are like dancing and the music is flowing, and there's just like these souls are being carried away. So all this soulful music and all these lights, and they were just helping to guide these people into the next level. Like let's be real, like black people do on this earth. And it was like mostly when I was watching the movie, there was like a lot of black women. You know, black women, we are just seen as just always someone that could be of assistance. In this movie there were like 4 primary colors throughout the movie. There were there was black and white, which of course BeetleJuice wears black and white. That represents the yin and the yang, or balance. And then there was yellow, which I feel like represents like vibrancy and energy. And there was a scene where BeetleJuice was working in this like call center office, and the men who were working in the call center office, they were obviously like dead ghosts with the really small heads. They were wearing these yellow suits. I feel like that was the energy that BeetleJuice needed to carry on in his life. That represented the energy that he was using. And these characters had these really small heads because obviously BeetleJuice was like the main character. He was the one that was in charge. And when you're just like feeding people energy, you're someone who doesn't really think for yourself, or you can't think for yourself. And so I feel like that is why the heads that were small, it represented someone who just doesn't think for themselves, can't think for themselves, and just are kind of robotic with how they go through life, you know. And then there was red, which represents passion and intensity. And I believe there was like 4 characters that did have red. Delia Deeds had the red hair, of course, and in the end Lydia was wearing a red wedding dress. BeetleJuice had on a red suit, and then Lydia Deeds' boyfriend Rory had a shirt on that had like a red heart on it. Those were the 4 main characters. You know, Delia Deeds, she was passionate and she was intense about her arts and all that jazz. And then Lydia Deeds was really passionate and intense about her talk show, where she talked about paranormal activity and ghosts. And then Rory, he had the red heart on his shirt, and I just feel like that represented him being heartless, honestly. He was going to marry Lydia Deeds not because he loved her, but because it was just a convenience. It would help him with his mobility, upward mobility into high society. It was like a red heart like on his shirt, probably where his heart would be. Then BeetleJuice, he had on a red suit at the end. He's a fiery person. So going back to what I was saying earlier in the video about how being a loner can open you up to entities and, you know, just things because you are vulnerable. She ran into someone that was a trickster spirit that tried to destiny swap. And I just feel like in life there's so many trickster spirits that are here to deceive you and to trick you out of things and to swap destinies with you, if you will. And I think that Tim Burton basically brought attention to like trickster spirits and also soul suckers. So BeetleJuice had this wife called Dolores, and she was basically a soul sucker, and she was going around sucking the souls from people. There are little people in this world, they just suck your soul. And when she sucked their soul, like they like got so flat, they were like a pancake. They suck your soul, they suck all your energy from you, that you are diminished into darn near nothing. Not like literally or physically do you turn into like a pancake like they were in BeetleJuice, but physically that is how you feel. So there were just so many things that and elements that Tim Burton had within this movie that I could just think off the top of my head at the moment. Maybe when I go to sleep tonight, I'll be laying in bed thinking like, oh my gosh, that happened, I should have said this in the video, I should have said that in the video. But for now, that's what I could think of. And I feel like you could see that Tim Burton was really trying not to let us down in this movie. Like you could tell that he was really trying to make the movie on par with the first movie or better. Like he was not cutting any corners with the filming, with the production, with the camera work, with anything, which I can appreciate. Like I could just look at the movie and just see like what went into like producing it. I feel like Astrid was Lydia Deeds' shadow self, because Lydia Deeds was like stuck on the past of the 80s of, you know, ghosts and how her house was haunted, and it was Barbara Maitland and Adam Maitland, and she couldn't like let that part of her life go. And then Astrid, her dad died, and she was always thinking about her dad, and just they both learned to let a part of their past go, because In the end, Lydia Deetz realized that what was important was her life and living her life, and she decided to stop doing her like ghost show. And then Astrid, when she was tricked by the trickster spirit, the trickster spirit basically told her, if you help me, you can see your father. And then she had to come to realize, like, okay, my dad is gone, he was great when he was here, I have all these great memories, but I have to let him go, you know. And then they both like were able to bond over that and like really get close and, you know, tighter as mother and daughter. There's like the yin and the yang, where Lydia Deetz grew up with her dad, and Astrid's dad died when she was pretty young. You know, Lydia Deetz grew up with her dad and her stepmom. There was never really any mention of her mom, but Astrid always had her mom. She knew her mom, but was still separate because she was in boarding school, she was away, and her mom was out living her life and doing her career and all that great stuff. And you know, their house was known as like the ghost house. It was like this house on top of the hill, like they were the family that was on top of the world, you know. And their neighborhood, their suburban neighborhood somewhere out in New York State, outside of the city. I feel like the house upstate in New York, outside of the city, I feel like that represents a part of Delia Deetz where she is outside of her element, which is Manhattan, you know, busy city. She's an artist, and at the beginning, like, there was a Parisian artist at her studio doing street art and graffiti. Like, that is Delia Deetz art. Manhattan, the you know, that's her life. But outside of that, that's an element that is outside of herself, if you get what I'm saying. When I think about it, the first movie, when she moved out there, she was basically just trying to find herself in a different element in life. And I feel like sometimes as people, we have to find ourselves outside of what we're used to. Maybe you gotta move, maybe you gotta take a new job, take a job in a different city, you know. And then she associated the house with her husband Charles. You know, he was a bird watcher, he loved this house. This house is Charles's house, you know. It was more so her husband's than of herself, hers. Even though she tried to make it her own, she really connected with the house. And sometimes we do these things and we compromise for the people that we love. So did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I really enjoyed the movie. So would I go see this movie again, like twice? Yes. And when it comes on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever streaming services, I'm gonna watch it again. And do I recommend that you go see the movie? I do. So that is my review. But anywho, if you've seen the movie, let me know what your thoughts are about the movie in the comments. Let's discuss, let's talk, okay? And so with that being said, I would like to thank you guys for coming to kick it with me today. And subscribe and come on back. Come on back. I just ordered a new book, so I'm gonna start doing book reviews on this channel again, because I really feel like that's what I love to do. It's gonna be a thriller, mystery thriller horror book, because that's my jam. But anywho, I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video. Toodles!